They're very, very sorry. So sorry.
Yeah. Did you anticipate this being a theme? Is it a theme?
Well, you know, what are they going to say? We're trying to do better. We understand the problem. It was started last year by Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook, but I think it's still the same idea of that they're trying to do better. I think I'm trying to do better. We're working on it. We acknowledge the problem. We're so sorry. And by the way, we're working on it, as opposed to anything else.
And Casey, the way that they're working on it, at least arguably, is by continuing to be big. Another theme is we need this size. We need the expertise, the raw people power that we can bring to bear in order to solve these problems. And in a way, it's an ingenious argument because it kind of front runs two things, both the problem itself and then any efforts to break them up. Well, if you do that, then the problem gets worse.
Yeah, that's right. And frankly, I think it is a distraction from the fact that it is the size of these companies that causes so many problems, or it's at least why the problem seems so consequential, right? It's the fact that they're so big that things seem to be breaking all around them before they can fix them.
You guys had you break up into various, they call them intensives, you call them intensives. One of them yesterday was on China, on venture capital.
Right.
And one of the arguments that came out of that session, which I went to, was arguments to be big helps if we're going to economic war with China. The Chinese companies argue it over there, and big tech companies argue it here. We don't want to be small if we're going to go head to head.
Well, the question is, what's the war? Are we going to war over facial recognition? What is it a war over? And does China really have a chance of running the Western internet? I don't think so. It's just what is the war? They just put it out there as the fear. It's a little bit of fear mongering. Obviously, we have to keep up from an innovative point of view, but most of the innovations come from small companies. They don't come from large companies. And I think a point that Scott Galloway made yesterday, who's my partner on the Pivot podcast, and he's a professor at NYU, is that for a lot of these violations, most CEOs get fired. So that was kind of an interesting point he was making.
Casey, it seems like if scale is a necessary part of the solution, and we're going head-to-head with China, we're doomed. Because China does big. That's like what they do. The state planning, the companies can be huge if the government wants them to, in a way that you can't necessarily do here. I mean, is that framing the argument the wrong way to frame it around scale?
I think so, because it's sort of a slippery slope to, the only way we can compete with China is if we also have an authoritarian regime, right? Like, let's not forget why these companies are big. They're big because the state wants them to be big, right? We're under capitalism, we have a different setup.
Although the argument yesterday was if the strength of data, and we're all about data now, is the creation of more data, then China wins. Because they create
just data. It depends on what the goals are. I mean, what it is just to put up sort of these headlines versus what's the realities of it. Most of the innovation has come from these internet companies, which were scrappy, which were interesting, and the smaller they are in a lot of ways, how more quickly they can move. And so to say they need to be big to fight China, I just want to know what the actual fight is. What is the goal? What is the fight? What are we going for?
One of the big changes I've seen over the past couple of years is the conversation around Chinese innovation. WeChat has freaked a lot of people out. It used to be the argument was, oh, well, culturally, there's something about China and technology. They can't really innovate. They're just copying. Now, a lot of U.S. companies are copying China.
So what? That's the way innovation works.
Exactly. Yeah. But the conversation about China, which I think was biased in a really weird way before, has definitely shifted. And I'm not sure we've noted that as firmly as we should. This is no longer China that just copies.
Of course not.
No, that's not even an argument really anymore from people who know what they're talking about.
It's a Chinese economy that's helped by the government, and our government just doesn't do that. I mean, the CEO of Delta, CEO of Delta talked about that. Someone was asking about why the seats weren't better, and he's like, well, he was talking about Middle Eastern airlines. He's like, well, if the government wants to give me tens of billions of dollars, I'd be happy to spend them on beautiful seats. But we like to compete, and this is capitalism. And so if you want a surveillance economy, sure, they're going to win. If you want something else, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. One thing I would say that where we are seeing something interesting out of China is with TikTok, right? Sort of the fastest growing social network right now is a Chinese company. And I think that's going to get really interesting when American users want to start making TikToks about Tiananmen Square. So I think we're headed for a really interesting conflict there.
You mentioned Scott Galloway, who had, I would argue, net bearish things to say about virtual reality and even AI. We're talking a lot this morning about this deepfake post of Mark Zuckerberg and what that portends for video editing in the future and trying to fool people who believe they're seeing a face that's moving and are saying what they're saying.
Like, for example, I'm right now looking at Carl Quintanilla with a picture of me on his chest, which is, I know, fake, which I know is absolutely fake. But this is what's coming. All this stuff is coming, and it's been widely available in a crude form, and now it's going to be in ways that are very hard to track. And deepfakes is going to be a big issue going forward around propaganda. Again, advantage China because it's propaganda, but we'll have to contend with that, and these companies will have to contend with it.
If we take a look at this this Facebook video, people haven't seen it yet. Facebook said we're not taking down Pelosi. Does their attitude change when they're the target?
No, I think, what did they say?
What they've said is that they're going to take the same approach they did with the Pelosi video, which is they will have it fact check, and once the fact checkers say, yeah, this thing is fake, they're going to radically reduce its distribution. They know the spotlight is on them on this one, though. There's no other choice they can make.